May 15, 2026, 3 o'clock in the morning. The borderlands of Sa Keo province remain shrouded in a thick, suffocating veil of tropical mist. To an untrained eye, the silence is absolute, but for the military analyst, this is not peace. This is the kinetic tension of a coiled spring. Beneath the dense canopy of the ancient forest, a massive steel predator has been breathing in the dark for 3 consecutive nights. Hundreds of heavy artillery pieces, main battle tanks, and multi-launch rocket systems of the Royal Thai Army have completed their covert repositioning. They sit draped in jagged camouflage netting, their thermal signatures suppressed, waiting for the digital spark that will ignite the horizon. The silence is no longer a state of nature. It is a definitive omen of the firestorm about to descend upon the Cambodian garrison stationed across the Poipet Gateway. Deep beneath the surface in hardened field command centers, Thai staff officers stare with cold, calculated intensity at high-definition electroluminescent displays. Every target coordinate has been refined to the square meter. High-altitude long-endurance reconnaissance unmanned aerial vehicles have spent the last 24 hours mapping the battlefield in real time, feeding live telemetry into the fire control network. At exactly 0400 hours, the radio silence is shattered by a single, encrypted execution order. The Earth does not merely shake, it convulses with the violence of a 7.0 magnitude earthquake. Arranged in a lethal arc, dozens of French-made Caesar 155mm truck-mounted self-propelled howitzers scream in unison. They vomit tongues of white-hot flame meters long, tearing the velvet blackness of the pre-dawn sky into ribbons. 40-kilogram high-explosive projectiles are hurled into the stratosphere at supersonic velocities, creating a bone-chilling atmospheric scream as they arc toward their victims. Seconds later, the older but numerically overwhelming M109A5 howitzers join the chorus, saturating the impact zones with a density of fire that defies logic. This is not a warning. This is a calculated act of total structural erasure. At the forward defense pickets near Poipet and the disputed temple of Preavihir, the world simply ends. Cambodian sentries do not even hear the initial report before the first shells arrive, detonating with a concussive force that liquefies the air. Concrete bunkers, reinforced over decades, are revealed to be as fragile as sandcastles against this tsunami of steel. Plumes of oily black smoke billow upward, eclipsing the first faint light of dawn. Within the first 10 minutes of the bombardment, the Cambodian border communications grid is decapitated. Early warning radar stations are leveled by precision-guided munitions, plunging the Cambodian forward command into a state of total blindness and deafness. The strategic surprise is absolute. Late ringing sirens are drowned out by the secondary cook-offs of ammunition depots. Cambodian soldiers, caught in their barracks, scramble for cover as the ground beneath them is systematically plowed by high explosives. When Cambodian BM-21 Grad rocket units attempt to deploy for counter-battery fire, they are instantly neutralized. Armed Thai drones, loitering invisibly overhead, designate their positions for immediate destruction. Military transport trucks are transformed into roaring funeral pyres, lighting the border like a macabre sunrise. The stench of burnt cordite, diesel fuel, and carbonized flesh settles over a 50-kilometer front. Thailand's escalation continues with short-range tactical ballistic missiles, striking deep into the interior to dismantle Cambodian regimental and brigade headquarters. The resistance is sporadic and desperate, machine guns and 60mm mortars firing blindly into the dark. A futile gesture against the falling sky. After 2 hours of the most intense artillery saturation in modern Southeast Asian history, the guns begin to steady. But this is not the end. It is the lethal pause between the hammer and the anvil. Across the border, the turbocharged diesel engines of hundreds of main battle tanks begin to roar, creating a mechanical symphony of dread. The storm has broken, and the flood is coming. As the black smoke from the initial bombardment curls upward to choke the morning sun, the Cambodian borderlands experience a new kind of tremor. It is no longer the sharp, staccato shock of explosions, but a sustained, low-frequency seismic vibration, the rhythmic pounding of thousands of horsepower. From the Thai Forward Command, the order for Operation Iron Spear is transmitted. This is the transition from static destruction to high-velocity maneuver warfare, the deep armored thrust. Leading the charge from the Poipet crossing are the T-84 Oplot T main battle tanks. Arguably the most advanced armored predators in the Southeast Asian theater. Their duplet explosive reactive armor, layered in aggressive wedges across the turrets, gives them the appearance of prehistoric beasts encased in modern steel. They surge forward, their wide tracks obliterating border barriers and grinding through the debris of the morning's firestorm. Following closely is a massive torrent of steel, Stingray light tanks and hundreds of BTR-3E1 infantry fighting vehicles, forming a mechanized flood that pours into Cambodian territory with unstoppable kinetic energy. The primary objective for this armored spearhead is the severance of National Highway 5, the strategic artery connecting the border to the capital, Phnom Penh. The speed of the Thai advance is staggering. Utilizing the doctrine of blitzkrieg, the Thai armored brigades do not stop to clear small pockets of resistance at the border. They leave those isolated remnants to the motorized infantry following in their wake. The tanks press onward, their 125mm smoothbore guns stabilized and leveled at the horizon, ready to vaporize any obstacle in their path. On the outskirts of Battambang, the Cambodian 11th Armored Brigade attempts a desperate stand. They are equipped primarily with aging T-55AM2 and Type 59 tanks, relics of a bygone era. Despite the overwhelming technological disparity, the Cambodian crews position their iron veterans behind bamboo groves and abandoned structures, waiting in grim silence for the invaders. The engagement is brief and merciless. As the Oplot T tanks emerge through the haze, the Cambodian tanks fire in unison. Armor-piercing shells strike the frontal glacis of the Thai leads. But here, technology dictates the outcome. The Oplot's reactive armor detonates, neutralizing the incoming kinetic energy. The Thai tanks merely shudder from the impact before their advanced fire control systems lock onto the sources of the fire. The retaliation is cold and clinical. High-velocity sabot rounds from the Thai guns tear through the cast steel hulls of the T-55s like hot knives through butter. Catastrophic explosions follow as ammunition racks are ignited, hurls turrets into the air and turning the Battambang suburbs into a graveyard of burning iron. By midday, the defense of Battambang has utterly shattered. Cambodian motorized units attempt to utilize shoulder-fired anti-tank missiles from high-rise buildings, but they are instantly suppressed by the 30mm autocannons of the BTR-3E1s, which saturate the windows with high explosive fire. Overhead, AH-1 Cobra attack helicopters loiter like vultures, ripple-firing tow missiles to liquidate any remaining hardened positions. The Thai armored columns do not linger to celebrate. They leave small detachments to secure the crossroads and then immediately accelerate toward the southeast, toward Phnom Penh. The scene on National Highway 5 is one of absolute chaos and tragedy.
Roger that.
This is no longer a border skirmish. This is total conventional war. And the Cambodian military has lost all control of the northwest. The road to the capital now lies open, and the countdown for the fall of the city has begun in earnest. While the ground continues to tremble under the iron tracks of the armored brigades, a different kind of slaughter, one colder and more precise, unfolds at an altitude of 5,000 meters. The Cambodian sky, once tranquil, has been seized by the silver wings of the Royal Thai Air Force. Multi-role fighter squadrons of JAS-39 Gripen, launched from the Surat and Korat airbases, have established an absolute no-fly zone over the entire northwestern theater. Supported by the SAAB-340E1 airborne early warning and control aircraft, Thai pilots possess a god-like view of the battle space, tracking every enemy movement from hundreds of kilometers away. The primary objective in this phase is to blind and hamstrung the Cambodian military. Satellite-guided GBU glide bombs are released with surgical precision, striking air defense radar stations, communication hubs, and regional command centers along National Highways 5 and 6. Towering antennas and transmission stations are vaporized in an instant, transforming the Cambodian command structure into a series of isolated, deaf, and mute islands. Cambodian ground-based air defense units, equipped with obsolete 37mm anti-aircraft guns and man-portable missiles, fire into the blue in a gesture of pure futility. Their tracers arc harmlessly through the air, unable to reach the modern fighters operating well above their ceiling. The true nightmare, however, manifests on the ground along the retreat routes to the capital. National Highway 5, the lifeblood of the Northwest, has been transformed into a literal highway of death. Military transport convoys, troop carriers, and the surviving remnants of Cambodian armored units attempting to regroup are now nothing more than moving target practice for Thai F-16 fighting Falcons. These predators dive from the clouds at blistering speeds, unleashing tons of high-explosive bombs and rockets. Ammunition trucks, struck by precision fire, detonate in massive secondary explosions, sending fireballs rolling across the melting asphalt. The charred skeletons of vehicles block the path, creating bottlenecks that trap the remaining forces for subsequent waves of airstrikes. The air is thick with the acrid stench of burning rubber, gasoline, and death. Surviving soldiers abandon their vehicles, fleeing into the rice paddies and roadside forests to find any shred of cover. They lie face down in the mud, hearts pounding against their ribs every time the scream of a jet engine tears through the atmosphere. There is a profound sense of helplessness. Without domestic air cover or effective air defenses, they are like fish on a cutting board, their lives left to the whims of the pilots above. Satellite towns like Persat and Kampong Chhaeng are engulfed in flames as strategic bridges are dropped by smart bombs to prevent any southern reinforcements from moving up or northern units from escaping. Thai air supremacy has not just destroyed equipment, it has broken the collective will of the Cambodian primary units. By late afternoon, the horizon west of Phnom Penh turns a violent crimson, not from the sunset, but from the fires of bombed fuel depots. The darkness is beginning to fall, but for the defenders of the capital, it is the shadow of inevitable doom. The distant thunder of explosions grows louder, vibrating through the heart of the city, signaling that the hour of destiny is at hand. At the break of dawn on May 14, 2026, the capital city of Phnom Penh, the beating heart of the Cambodian kingdom, is jolted awake. It is not the tranquil morning bells of the pagodas that break the silence, but the guttural roar of tank engines and the ear-splitting percussion of heavy ordnance. The Royal Thai Army's encirclement has tightened around the city like a massive steel noose. From three directions, north, west, and south, armored thrusts simultaneously penetrate the inner city. The strategy of encircle the city to annihilate reinforcements has shifted into the brutal phase of siege and capture of every strategic objective. The sky above the capital is shredded by crisscrossing tracers that weave a lethal web of fire. Massive blazes erupt in the industrial outskirts, dyeing the horizon a hellish red and providing a macabre backdrop for this final stand. The first and most critical objective is Po Sentong International Airport. The Thai 2nd Mechanized Infantry Brigade, spearheaded by Stryker armored vehicles and Oplot T tanks, launches a lightning assault on the main gates. The defenders here, including the elite 911th Paratrooper Brigade, resist with desperate ferocity. They utilize terminal buildings, concrete bunkers, and the wreckage of aircraft as makeshift fortresses, pouring B-41 anti-tank rockets and heavy machine gun fire into the advancing columns. However, the overwhelming firepower of the Thai 125mm tank guns systematically levels these pockets of resistance. Glass walls shatter like frozen rain, and after 2 hours of savage house-to-house combat, the Thai flag is hoisted atop the air traffic control tower, signaling that the city's most vital aerial gateway has fallen. Simultaneously, in the city center, urban warfare reaches a level of carnage rarely seen in modern times. The Russian Federation Boulevard, the main artery to the administrative heart, becomes a river of fire. Thai tanks lumber forward, their turrets traversing coldly, collapsing any building suspected of harboring enemy snipers. The Cambodian military, in a final effort to protect the capital, transforms every intersection and street corner into a bastion. But the disparity in numbers and technology is insurmountable. Thai Special Forces, equipped with night vision optics and advanced reconnaissance gear, ghost through the narrow alleys, liquidating small defensive outposts one by one. The sharp staccato of Cambodian AK-47s is gradually drowned out by the rhythmic fire of Thai Tavor assault rifles. By 10 o'clock in the morning, the deep thrust of the Thai 2nd Cavalry Division reaches the ultimate target, the Cambodian Ministry of Defense. This is the final symbol of military authority. A direct tank duel erupts at point-blank range in front of the building's gates. The last T-55 AM-2 tanks of the Royal Guard charge forward, accepting a suicidal sacrifice to stall the invaders. Deafening explosions ring out as steel armor meets kinetic penetrators, leaving burning hulls scattered across the boulevard. Courage cannot bridge the technological gap. Within 30 minutes, the resistance is extinguished. The heavy iron gates of the ministry are rammed down by Thai tanks. Hundreds of Thai infantrymen flood the building, clearing it floor by floor. By noon, the gunfire in central Phnom Penh thins out and then dies. A deathly silence settles over the city, broken only by the crackle of fires and the rhythmic grinding of tank treads on debris-strewn streets. At key locations, the Royal Palace, the National Assembly, and various ministries, Thai soldiers establish checkpoints. The citizens of Phnom Penh hide deep within their homes, terrified to look upon the streets that now belong to the conquerors. Recognizing the situation is beyond salvation, the Cambodian government and general staff order a strategic retreat to preserve what remains of their forces. This agonizing but necessary decision marks the fall of the capital's defense. Military convoys carrying high-ranking officials and battle-worn troops hurry across the Kroi Chanvar and Monavong bridges to the eastern bank of the Mekong, destroying the spans immediately after crossing to halt the pursuit. Phnom Penh, the Pearl of Indochina, has officially fallen. The image of Thai tanks positioned majestically before the Independence Monument, their muzzles raised to the sky, becomes the definitive symbol of this bitter defeat. But the war is not over. It is merely shifting into a new, more tragic, and more relentless phase on the other side of the legendary Mekong River. As the sun begins its descent on May 14, 2026, a catastrophic explosion rips through the air, shaking the very foundations of the Mekong River. The Kroi Chanvar Bridge, the final umbilical cord of hope for the capital, is severed. Massive concrete spans collapse into the sediment-heavy waters, creating towering walls of spray. This was no act of random vandalism. It was a soul-crushing strategic necessity by Cambodian engineers to cut their own path of return and halt the relentless momentum of the Thai Oplot T tanks. On the western bank, the iron predators of the Royal Thai Army grind to a halt at the water's edge, their cannons pointed toward the opposite shore in a display of sudden, frustrated impotence. The majestic Mekong has been transformed into a gargantuan natural trench, bifurcating the nation. To the west lies the occupied zone, a landscape of smoke and shadow. To the east, the free zone, where the seeds of a long-term resistance are already being sown. Along National Highways 6 and 7, leading toward the provinces of Kampong Cham and Kratie, a ragged column of soldiers and hardware stretches toward the horizon. Gone are the polished formations of the parade ground. This is the raw, unvarnished face of war. Military trucks riddled with bullet holes and shattered glass, carrying wounded men wrapped in blood-stained bandages. Armored vehicles, missing their tires, limp along on bare steel rims, while red dust coats every surface, from the faces of the men to the cold steel of their rifles. The atmosphere surrounding this retreating force is not one of panicked defeat, but a terrifying, heavy silence. In the eyes of the soldiers who escaped the furnace of Phnom Penh, there is no fear, only a smoldering fire of resentment waiting for the moment to ignite. The Cambodian High Command has issued the order. All remaining primary forces are to disappear into the impenetrable jungles and rugged highlands of Ratanakiri and Mondulkiri. Here, amidst the forest of ghosts and the formidable slopes of the Annamite Range, the conflict will evolve from conventional warfare into a brutal, protracted guerrilla campaign. The blood-soaked lessons of the last 72 hours have made one thing clear: they cannot win a head-on collision against superior firepower on the open plains. From this moment on, the deep forest will be their home, the darkness their ally, and the loyalty of the people their unshakable fortress. Secret weapon caches hidden deep within the wilderness are being opened, preparing for a people's war, where every tree and every stone is a potential death trap for the occupier. As twilight bleeds into a deep purple over the river, The column pauses at the edge of a vast rubber plantation. An elderly general, his uniform caked in the mud of the front lines, stands atop a jeep to survey his men. There are no loudspeakers, no grand speeches. He simply raises his right fist toward the darkening sky. Below him, thousands of arms rise in unison, clutching weathered AK-47 rifles. A silent vow is etched into their very souls: as long as there is life, there is the nation. The most haunting image remains at the very rear of the convoy. On the back of the last ammunition truck crossing the ferry, a young soldier, barely out of his teens, stands gripping the sideboards. He turns his head to look back one last time at the western bank, where the silhouette of Phnom Penh is drowning in a sea of fire and billowing black smoke. His hands tighten around the handguard of his rifle until the veins bulge against his skin. He does not cry. His tears were burned away long ago by the heat of the artillery. He simply stares, memorizing the desecration of his home and anchoring this hatred into his marrow. In his steadfast gaze lies the iron promise of an entire people. We go today so that we may return tomorrow. And on that day, the thunder will roar again, not the thunder of defeat, but the lightning strike of a retribution that will sweep the enemy from the land. The truck accelerates, carrying the young soldier into the encroaching shadows of the great forest, leaving behind the Mekong as the sole witness to a day of sorrow, but a day of unyielding spirit.